Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Sunday night, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Down below, make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Hey there, Eden. Glad to have you here on this Sunday night, but I had a busy weekend. I had a wrestling show last night, SWA Wrestling in East Denali, Georgia. Had a wrestling show today for Scrappy Championship Wrestling, which is in Northeast Georgia. So a show last night and a show this afternoon. So thanks to all the guys that came and watched. Thanks to all the wrestlers who came to perform. And thanks to all the refs who helped me out. Two wonderful shows. But tonight I want to have a discussion, and how long this video lasts really all depends on how many comments we get about the topic as we go. Because it's really just a discussion video, because I've got a couple points I want to make, but really truly it's more of a discussion. So as long as we get comments, we'll continue to go. If we don't get many comments, it won't be a very long video, but hopefully those that don't come on here tonight will watch this video later, because I'm genuinely curious as to what people think and if they agree or disagree with me and why. And you know by now that I read all the comments I can and try my best to respond to all of them. Hey there, Lightborn, glad to have you here. You're just in time for our discussion to begin. We're just about to start. And it's okay, even if you had stuff to do, but glad you're here. Tonight, I read all the comments I can, try to comment to all of them as long as I believe and I feel they're from real people. If I feel they're from robots or people that just don't even watch, just get on there and type something stupid and get off, then I totally ignore those. And thanks for the support, Lightborn. I appreciate that. But tonight's discussion is about college football. And I think by now everybody knows the big story that came out on Friday, that the Tennessee Volunteers have moved on from Nico Iamaleava. Now, of course, you can believe what you want to believe as to why and the reasons and all that. Hey there, Antonio. Glad to have you here. But the truth is, the reason he's leaving is because he wanted more money and Tennessee wasn't willing to pay him more money. Now, of course, you're going to have the one side that says, he's not worth the kind of money he was wanting. That's why they're not paying him. And then you're going to have the other side that says, pay the man because he's your best option. You can believe either one of those that you choose to believe. But he's leaving because he wanted more money and they weren't going to pay him more money. They were negotiating, but on Friday, he didn't tell anybody that he was skipping practice, and he just totally skipped practice. So Tennessee said, you know what? We've got to move on. This guy can kick rocks. He's got to go. And thank you for subscribing, Antonio. I greatly appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. And if anybody on here knows anybody in the Knoxville area or knows somebody who's a Tennessee fan, feel free to tell them to get on here and comment, because I'd like to hear, what they have to say, because personally, I'm glad that Tennessee put their foot down. Thank you for subscribing, Elijah. I appreciate that. And hey there, Ariel Clips. Glad to have you here. And name a car that say Ford Mustang. I'm glad they put their foot down, because, what happened is, Nico wanted more money, and I think Tennessee had enough sense to realize, wait a minute, if we pay this guy more money and give him what he wants, then everybody else on our team is going to come to us and say they want more money. And we can't show favoritism and pay this guy what he wants and not pay everybody else what they want. So if he wants more money and we can't afford to pay the whole team more money, he's got to go. So I'm glad they put their foot down. We need to see more teams do that. Hey there, two-time. Glad to have you here. And yes, Mustang, or you can go with a Camaro, a Corvette, a Ford Fiesta, a Ford Edge, a Honda Accord. Thank you there, Antonio. I appreciate that. I really do. I try to sound my best when I'm here on the channel, so I appreciate that kind word there, Antonio. But I'm glad they put their foot down about it. We're going to see more teams do that. But my question is, and it's a statement too, is, why are people surprised? Because I genuinely don't understand why people are surprised. Honestly, really, truly, the best way that I can phrase it is that I'm surprised people are surprised. But I don't understand why they're surprised, and I'll give you a quick story behind that. You have a good day as well, Antonio. I greatly appreciate that. Come back by the channel anytime. I can recall being back in high school 25 years ago, me and some friends of mine talking college football, and, one of them told me 25 years ago that, his dad said that one day the players would start getting paid, and I said, that's a terrible idea. And I was in high school. I was a teenager. And I thought then it was a terrible idea. Well, I've got a co-worker that we've been working together now for about 10 years. And ever since he started, he's always said that college players should get paid. And I said, that's a terrible idea. Well, about 5 years ago, when word came down that, it was fixing to happen, they were fixing to start getting paid, he was like, yes, I'm so happy. And I said, it's a terrible idea. Well, about a year or so ago, he comes to me and he says, Brandon, I never thought that these players would get paid this, and this has gone downhill so quickly. This ain't what I was expecting. And I said, why are you surprised? Because probably 99% of the regular workforce, if you could go to your boss and say, hey, boss, if you don't give me, a $20,000 a year raise, I'm quitting. And if you thought for sure and you knew for sure your boss would do it, then you would do it. Good luck to you as well, Eric. Thank you for being here. Please give the video a like and a thumbs up. But almost everybody that holds a normal day-to-day regular job, no matter what it is, first shift, second shift, swing shift, third shift, doesn't matter. Hey there, McDonald's Najee. Glad to have you here. If you could go to your boss and tell your boss that you want $20,000 a year raise or you're leaving, and you knew your boss would do it, you would do it. Hey there, Jaden. Glad to have you here. So, if all of us regular people that hold down regular jobs, if we believed that our boss would give us a raise if we asked, we would all do it. Well, these football players, they're not doing this. For us, it's a game. For them, it's a lifestyle. It's a way to live. So they treat this business the way we treat our business at our job. If we would go to our boss and demand more money if we could and get it, then why do we not expect these football players to do this? My boss would if he could afford it, and I genuinely believe that. Well, Scribbles, you're exactly correct, and everybody would. I know people that work with me that don't do near the work I do, that make way more than I do, that say, I need more money. I need more money. I need more money. And no matter what job anybody has, no matter what you do, how long you've been there, and what you make, everybody thinks they should make more money. So, of course, if we feel that way, football players feel that way too. So why did we think that when they started getting paid, it wasn't going to go in the toilet overnight? To me, it was common sense. It was obvious. Hey, bro, I just tuned in. How have you been so far? And how's the day going so far? And share about your hobbies a bit. And is there anything new you have been working on lately? Well, Poppin, I'm glad to have you here. And My day has been fantastic. Hey there, Christopher, and you're right. That is bad news about Lacey from LSU, 24 years old. I understand, from what I understand, if it's correct, he was battling some mental health issues. So hopefully that is not just something that I've read, it's actually true. But of course, I didn't know the guy personally, so I can't say that it's true. But that definitely is some terrible, terrible news. And Scribble says he's in HVAC, just for reference, but I think cost of living is higher on my list than my income. I don't want a mansion. I want to live well. And Scribbles, I think that's the way everybody feels. You don't want to be rich, but you want enough money to where if something bad happens, you can pay for it without having to go in debt or lose something in order to pay for it. But my day has been fantastic. To me, there's no such thing as a bad day. There's bad moments, but not bad days. But hobbies, I guess for me, Pop and Zeus, since you asked, I don't really have a lot of spare time to have actual hobbies because I stay busy, busy, busy. I have my full-time job, and then my wife and I have three wonderful kids. Hey there, Igor. Glad to have you here. We have three wonderful kids, an 11-year-old daughter, and then twin boys that'll be 7 in June. They were born Father's Day week, so they'll be 7 coming up in June. I'm also the men's leader at our church. I'm a professional wrestling referee, and then I work in radio part-time here locally covering high school football and high school basketball when high school football season rolls around. And then after that, when basketball season rolls around, so I do that from August through about February, whenever basketball high school ends. So I do that part-time for the local team here where I am. So I stay busy, busy, busy. So if I get any free time and have a chance to do anything, it's generally to just sit down on the couch and enjoy a few minutes of peace and quiet, and maybe lay down and take me an hour nap on occasion. But typically, if I get any free time, I'm having to, call my grandmother and check on her, or call my grandpa on my dad's side and check on him, because I still have my grandma on my mama's side, and I have my granddad on my daddy's side, but my mother is dead and my father is dead. So generally, if I get free time, it's either calling my grandmother on my mama's side or my grandfather on my daddy's side and checking on them. But I really don't have a lot of free time for hobbies, and that's why I don't play video games. Well, Hoosier, even though you hate Clemson, that's perfectly fine. I'm still so glad you tuned into the channel, and it's okay because this is not a Clemson channel. I wear my Clemson colors because I'm a Clemson fan, but it's not a Clemson channel, so you're not going to see me on here all the time waving my Clemson flags and pom-poms. I don't do that. So thank you for being here, and I promise you, you're not going to hear me talk Clemson nonstop. I don't do that. I don't talk any team all the time because that gets old pretty quick. But I don't play video games, Scribbles, because to me, video games is something you have to have a lot of free time to do, and I don't do that. If I was to play a video game and I played a college football game and I got in a chance to play one game, I'd play one game and have to turn the game off, and then I wouldn't get another chance to play for another 3 or 4 weeks. And then by the time I played again, I would completely forget who I was and what I did, because I wouldn't have enough time to play every day. And that's why I don't even watch regular weekly TV shows, because I would get into them and get in 2 or 3 episodes and then get so busy I'd forget to watch for the next 3 or 4 months, and then I would just totally forget what was going on. So I don't even watch weekly TV shows because I don't have enough free time to watch stuff like that. So if I watch something that's not sports or wrestling, it's TV shows that aren't all tied together. Otherwise, you get behind and you forget what's going on. But my hobbies are working in radio for high school football and basketball, being a professional wrestling referee, which is why I had a show last night and a show today, and spending all the time I can with my 3 wonderful kids, because I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, and I know I've got many, 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 many more years in front of me. But I've always been the type to where, I love being a referee and love working in radio part time, but I love spending time with my family. So I've never wanted to be the type that stays gone for days upon end and doesn't get to stay with my kids or stay around my kids. And hey there, Archibald, glad to have you here. And that's why in 2007, when I first became a referee, I had hopes of one day, hitting the big times and making it big. And then I got married and had kids, and I said, nope, now I don't want to do it. Now, if they called me and asked me to sign a contract, I'd say, no, I'm good. Hey there, Coco. Glad to have you here because I love doing it. And if WWE came to the area and called me to go ref a match in the local area and I could just drive up there, do it, and come back home the same night, I'd do it. But signing a contract where I'm gone 300 days out of the year and don't see my kids, no, it's not happening. I wouldn't do it. Because to me, being a dad is higher on the totem pole than being a referee. And it's higher on the totem pole than, doing high school football. If I had a chance to, do radio for a college football team, I would do it. But it would have to be a team around here, not a team where I got to travel 3,000 miles to do it. I wouldn't do it. I don't care if they offered me $1,000,000 a minute. If I can't see my kids for a week or two, I don't want to do it. And that's just the way I've always been. Since I had kids, I've always felt like if you could take the time to have the kids, you should take the time to be around the kids. That's just how I am. And I'm not sure what kind of game that is, Coco, so you have to explain it to me, but hopefully it's something you thoroughly enjoy doing. But back to my college football discussion. Hey there, Jack. Glad to have you here. When you start paying these players and they don't have a contract and they don't have a salary cap, of course, no matter what you pay them, they're going to ask for more because there's no contract that says they can't. There's no salary cap that says they can't. And that's why you have a salary cap, in most professional organizations, because that way the players can ask for more money. And you see now that most of these, at least the big time Power Four conference college football teams, are now hiring. They're basically general managers. Some don't call them that. They have more fancy names for them. But in reality, they're general managers. And their only job is to basically be a general manager and try to oversee all this money now that all these players are getting paid. So what's going to eventually happen is, since these teams now have general managers, is you're going to see all these teams eventually, probably over the next 3 years, 4 maybe at the most, is you're going to start seeing these teams make these players sign contracts. And the contracts may be how much money you're going to make, and the contract may be that, you can't transfer for at least 2 seasons, or, you'll make this much money if you play in this many games, and you'll make this for this many games. But it'll be something along those lines, but it's going to be something to where the players will know what they're going to make and how much they've got to play to make that money. Because this nonsense of players going somewhere and playing for a year and then transferring here for a year, transferring here for a year, that's ridiculous. But if you don't put a stop to it and make them stop doing it, they're going to keep doing it. Because if you can transfer and go to another school doing the same thing you're doing now, making twice the money, that's what they're going to do. But if you put in their contract, hey, if you sign to play here, then you can't transfer for at least 2 years. And then that way the players know, even if they're bottom of the totem pole in what they're making, they know they can't leave. Or if you tell them, well, you'll make this for playing in the regular season, but you'll make this if you play in a bowl game. Then they'll play. Because a lot of these players now, since they have the playoffs, they feel like if their team's not in the playoffs, they're not going to play. And they get all of a sudden in a bowl game that 25 years ago was considered a big time bowl game. But now, because of playoffs, to some people, it's not. So these players don't play. And you shouldn't make the same amount of money if you're just voluntarily sitting on the bench. So I do think within the next 3-4 years, you're going to see more and more teams basically make these players sign contracts. And it's going to be the only way that this is going to be put to a stop. Otherwise, it's not going to stop. And you can't blame the players, because when you tell them they're going to make money, but you don't tell them how much they can make, they're going to ask for more. Anybody would. If you were in their boat, you'd ask for more. Hey there, Clips. Glad to have you here on this Sunday night. And if it's your first time being here, thank you for being here. Hopefully you have subscribed to the channel. If not, hopefully you will. Give the video a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Tell your family. And Scribbles, thank you so much for agreeing with me. I've always been more of a family man. And Clips, matter of fact, a while ago, I think Christopher got on here and commented about Lacey. I've already talked about it. My understanding was he was battling some mental health issues. So I just go by what I've heard, because, you know, I didn't know the young man personally. But it definitely is a sad, sad, sad story. Tyrone, glad to have you here. And even if you're not a Clemson fan, it's okay. Glad to have you here. And I promise you, for those of you who are being serious and not being smart Alex, that are not Clemson fans, I am perfectly fine with that. I know not everybody is a Clemson fan, and how boring would life be if everybody did pull for the same team. So even if you're not a Clemson fan, it's perfectly okay, and you can come on here, and this is not a Clemson channel. I do many videos where they don't even get mentioned. They wouldn't have got mentioned in this video if people like Tyrone didn't come on here and say something about Clemson. So I didn't bring them up. This is not a Clemson channel where you're going to hear me talk Clemson every day. I don't do that. And even when I do talk Clemson, I don't always talk good. I don't always talk bad. I'm very rational and very level-headed. I don't wave no Clemson flags. I don't wave no Clemson pom-poms. I'm just level-headed. And hey there, Pee-wee. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Steve. Glad to have you here. And yes, Rick, you're right. It was a sad situation. And Pee-wee, I promise you, if you were to hear me sing, I would lose every subscriber I have, and every viewer I have. The folks that watch that don't subscribe would stop watching, because I can do a lot of things, but one of them is not sing. But I'm glad all of you first timers are here, and I promise it is not a Clemson channel. But if you come on here and, you know, want to talk about somebody that's not Clemson, I'm perfectly okay with that. Hey there, Eddie. Happy Palm Sunday to you as well. And Pee-wee, thank you for subscribing and liking. I greatly appreciate that. But if you come on here and don't want to talk Clemson, I'm okay with that. Just don't do what most people do, because me personally, I'm not a trash talker. Never have been. To me, trash talking it's 12-year-old stuff. I'm way past 12. I don't do that. That's childish. But some people still choose to do it, and I don't mind that. I just don't personally do it. But my main problem with people that trash talk is they want to trash talk and come to you and talk junk if your team loses, but then when their team loses, they want to go hide in the corner. Don't do that. If you're going to talk junk about somebody else's team losing, then don't go hide in the corner when your team loses. And Clips, it's for your age, guys. That's good to know. And good evening to you, Drunken. Glad to have you here. And Tyrone, let me know if you have a team and who your team is. And hopefully, if you have a team, they are your team. What I mean by that is, I know people, and I've never understood it, but I know people that say they have a team, but then as soon as that team starts struggling or that team is no good anymore, that's not their team anymore. And to me, that's not being a true fan. A true fan will pull for somebody, win, lose, or draw. And hey there, Pose. Glad to have you here. And Eddie, I promise you, Tyrone is not bothering me at all. You're a Western Kentucky fan. And Tyrone doesn't bother me because I don't mind people saying Clemson sucks. I've heard it all my life. I totally ignore it, but it doesn't bother me. Hey there, Layla. Glad to have you here. But Tyrone, are you from the Western Kentucky area? Did you go to school there? Do you know somebody that went to school there, or is that just your team because they're your team? Like I'm a Clemson fan because they're my team. I didn't grow up there. I didn't go to school there. I don't know anybody who went to school there. It's just my team. And Clips is a Ole Miss fan. Well, that's perfectly fine as well. But I don't mind Eddie anybody coming on here and watching the channel, whether they're a Clemson fan or not. I know, we're not going to have all Clemson fans on here, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I just don't like the people that come on here and, like Tyrone, is staying and commenting over and over again, and I'm fine with that. I don't like the ones that come on here, hey there, James, glad to have you here, and they'll say Clemson sucks, and then they'll disappear. That I totally ignore. Like somebody a while ago made a comment about Clemson, and you see that I didn't comment at all because those people I ignore because they come on here and they'll say something just to get a reaction, and they're not even watching the channel. But Tyrone, I'm glad you are here, and Eddie, Tyrone's not bothering me at all. But Tyrone, I would like for you and Eddie to get along and not talk trash back and forth. But I would like for you to one day, either during a live video like this or just in the comment section down below, because you can comment anytime on any video and tell me, if you really are a fan of the Hilltoppers, what made you become a fan of the Hilltoppers? Because they're not, a Power 4 school. They're not a school that has a rich tradition. So I'm kind of curious as to what made you, pick that team. Hey there, Q. Glad to have you here. And Dabo will be at Clemson as long as he wants to be at Clemson, whether that's 5 more years or 20 more years. He definitely is not old enough age-wise to retire, but, Dabo's very good with his money, so he's definitely financial-wise old enough to retire. But as long as he stays in good shape and wants to keep doing it and enjoys what he's doing, he's done so much at Clemson that they're not going to fire him. The only way they fire him is if they come out and they go 2-10 this year and 3-9 next year. Then they might consider it, but that's not going to happen. They'll be in the playoffs again this football season, so that's not happening. But that'd be the only way they fire him, because you can't be at Clemson and be a mediocre program for 20 years and then all of a sudden get Dabo there, become a top 5 team, and then fire the guy. That's dumb. That's idiotic. You're not doing that. So unless he has 2 straight wins, 2 straight seasons of 2 or 3 wins, they're not firing him. Hey there, OSO. Glad to have you here. And Q, he does use the portal. That's one of those false narratives that people say because, for whatever reason, the media just chooses to hate Dabo Swinney, and no matter what he does, it's wrong. So that's a false narrative that could not be more incorrect, but it's something that people say just because they don't like Dabo. And if you don't keep up with the Clemson program or Dabo as a head coach, you believe it because you've heard that. But that's why you don't watch a bunch of things like ESPN because they're full of garbage. No matter what Dabo does and says, it's going to be wrong to them. And if you don't know any better, you believe it because they're trying to brainwash you, and you don't know any better, so you think, oh, well, they said it, it must be true. In reality of it is, it ain't true. But it's one of those false narratives people say because they just don't like Dabo Swinney. One coach can say something, and people will say, oh, that's correct. And then Dabo can come out the next day and say the same thing, and the media will say, oh, Dabo's an idiot, just because they don't like Dabo Swinney. I've never understood that, but they don't, and that's just the way it is. And since it's that way, when Dabo talks, he's wrong. If he don't talk, he's wrong. Hey there, Brayley. Glad to have you hearing clips. I agree with you. My channel's better than ESPN because I don't try to brainwash people. I try to give you opinions and facts as I see them, but I don't always talk good about one team or one conference and always talk bad about somebody else. To me, that's not fair. And when I first started the channel, I told myself when I started, hey there, Omni Man. Glad to have you here, that I was not going to do that because there's too many people on ESPN and on YouTube, for that matter, that like a certain team or like a certain conference. So they always want to get on your TV or your tablet and tell you stuff that couldn't be further from the truth. But they want you to believe it because it's what they believe. And they feel like if they can make everybody believe what they're telling you, it must be true, even though it's not. So when I started this channel, I said, you know what? I'm a Clemson fan, but this is not going to be a Clemson channel. There are many of avenues that you can go to if you want to hear Clemson all the time. And KB, you can't test my bias because I don't have any bias. You can't test something that ain't there, and I have no bias towards any team, any conference. Never have. I don't believe in that. I'm not Lee Corso, and this is not ESPN's College Game Day. I don't have bias. Never have. And I've never understood the folks that do because, you know, to me, if you follow a sport, no matter what sport it is, if you follow a sport and you know the sport, and then you try to brainwash people and make them believe what you believe because you believe that, and this team all of a sudden ain't good, but you're still tooting their horn even though they're not good, you look stupid. So that's why I don't wave a certain conference flag or a certain team flag, because then when that team struggles, you look foolish. I just call things like I see them. Hey there, Snooze. Glad to have you here. So if a team is good, in my opinion, I tell you they're good. If a team is bad, in my opinion, I tell you they're bad. But I don't, especially in college football, I do not believe in waving the conference flags. It's never made sense to me. I've said since I was in high school, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I've never understood it, and to this day, it makes zero sense to me. And the more people talk about conference affiliation, the less sense it makes. It makes everybody sound so dumb, in my opinion, because it makes no sense to me. I don't give a darn what conference you're in. If you're a good football team, you're good. If you suck, you suck. You're not good or bad based on your conference. You're good or bad based on are you good or not. And Snooze, to be honest with you, I'm glad you asked, but I don't believe that I have any moderators. I don't know enough about YouTube to know if I do or not, but I do know that ever since I started this channel, I've never been asked to get a moderator, and I would assume in order to have one, you have to be asked to get one, or asked if you have one. So I don't know that I have any. If I do, I don't know how that I got them because I've never assigned anybody that task. And like I said, I don't know enough about YouTube to know whether or not they assign them to me. Do I ask them? Do they ask me? I really have no earthly idea. So if I have any, I don't know who they are. And if somebody wanted to be one, I wouldn't know how to tell them to be one. But I do appreciate you asking. Snooze and Clips, I guess you're talking about the poster behind me that is Dabo Sweeney. He is on that poster behind me. It's actually a cardboard cutout, but you can't see it fully because I have the Clemson blanket over it. But it's a cardboard cutout that was made one of the 2 years that Dabo won a national championship. It's a cardboard cutout, and it had a football on it, and then the poster of Dabo and Clips. I appreciate that. I'll take that into future consideration. No BPC. I do not like the Georgia Bulldogs, but again, it doesn't matter because when I start talking college football, you'll hear me always constantly, talking about how good Georgia is, how great the program is, because I'm honest, but I don't like them. So, no, I don't like them, but it doesn't matter because when I talk about them based on how I feel about them, whether I like them or not. But no, I am not a Georgia Bulldog fan. I've actually got two teams in college sports, and that's Clemson and anybody that plays Georgia. But I still talk very highly of them because I like to give an honest opinion on a team and not just talk about somebody because of how much I like them or hate them. But no, I'm not a Georgia fan. Hey there, content. Glad to have you here. And I don't know of any schools in Seattle, Washington, and Clips. Have a great evening, and please stop by the channel some other time. And hey there, Leon. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Donna. Glad to have you here. If you have any comments or thoughts at all on what tonight's main topic was, please feel free to let me know. And I still feel that within 2 or 3 years, we'll see most of these programs making these players sign some kind of contract to tell them, how much they're going to make and for how long they're going to make that and whether or not they can transfer after, 2, 3 years, whatever. And my NFL team is the Miami Dolphins. I've been a fan of them since I started watching the NFL because I don't believe in switching teams. So in every sport that I watch, the teams that I like, I've liked from day one when I watched the sport and never wavered. So I've been a Dolphins fan since I first started watching NFL because when I started watching, they had Dan Marino, and I loved to watch him play. So I become a Dolphins fan then. And then when he retired, I was like, well, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'll stick with them. So I've been one ever since then because I was 12 when I started watching the NFL. So I didn't know anything about anybody. So as a 12-year-old boy trying to watch football, you've got to watch and see, what catches your attention, what keeps your attention, what makes you watch. And what made me watch the NFL was Dan Marino because when he played for them, they were so good. They were just about the 1 o'clock Eastern time game every single Sunday. And he was good and fun to watch. So he made me a Dolphins fan, so I just stuck with him. Hey there, D1L. Glad to have you here. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I attended magician school, but I failed the final exam. All the test was trick questions. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.